The United States recently carried out airstrikes in Nigeria. Let's look at why they did this. But first, some quick background as well as debunking some myths around why this was done. The first thing is that these airstrikes were carried out in Sokoto State, which is in northern Nigeria. The alleged target was ISIS, sometimes called the Islamic State, and also known as Daesh. Now, the first myth we need to debunk is that this was actually meant as a counter-terrorism operation. Absolutely not. According to villagers that live in this area, there is no Islamic State, ISIS, Daesh presence there. The second thing you also need to understand is Donald Trump is also trumping up all the stuff about, a genocide of Christians in Nigeria. Well, first of all, the Sokoto State is mainly Muslim. There aren't really many Christians there. Second of all, really no one accepts the argument that there is a Christian genocide. Yes, there is violence against Christians in Nigeria, but no human rights organization says that this is a genocide. And the third thing you also need to understand is that Donald Trump doesn't care about Christians, of course. If he did, he would stop sending weapons to Israel, which continues to engage in the mass slaughter of all Palestinians, including Palestinian Christians, of course. Now, there's a third idea about why this is happening. I actually don't agree with it, and it might be a little surprising to you. I've heard a lot of people in my circles claim that these airstrikes are being done in order to take Nigeria's oil. Now, it's not that this is not a reason for doing so. It could be, but it's not the main reason. The thing you need to understand is Nigeria, as it currently exists, is ruled by politicians and businessmen who are pretty much servants of the Western powers, and the oil that exists in Nigeria that is extracted, all that wealth goes to some of the local rich people there, but most of it actually ends up in the hands of Western corporations. So the West doesn't really want to actually necessarily, per se, it doesn't need to go in and take the oil. It's already getting it. I think the real purpose of these airstrikes are twofold. The first thing is that Nigeria, I think, is going to become a base of operations to attack the Alliance of Sahel states. This is a group of 3 states, Niger, which borders Nigeria, Burkina Faso, as well as Mali. These states have been engaging in an anti-imperialist form of resistance and have been doing so quite successfully. And I think the arguments could be made that the terrorist groups in northern Nigeria are also in Niger, and that the United States is going to eventually engage in airstrikes of Niger as well as the other states in the Alliance of Sahel states. I think the second reason also these airstrikes are occurring is in order to kind of keep Nigeria status quo, actually. Nigeria is a country that has a lot of inequality and a lot of instability, and I think Nigeria is actually ripe for a revolution. The United States doesn't want that. The business interests and politicians in Nigeria don't want that. So now the United States has reason to enforce the rule of the status quo, and that is by claiming that there are terrorists. That's what I think is going on. Thank you so much. Let me know what you think in the comments. Cheers.